One of the fascinating things about just the Amazon to me is that there's still a large number of uncontacted tribes. As to rewind back into ancient history, you can imagine all of these tribes that existed in the Amazon that were isolated, very sort of distinct from each other. Can you speak to this, your understanding of these tribes and their history that are still here today?
Well, a lot of them are these, by uncontacted, we mean we don't know anything about these guys. We know roughly where they are, but places like Ecuador have very responsible policies where no one's allowed to go contact them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a dearth of information. If they walk out of the jungle and talk to us, that's one thing, but we don't go out there looking for them. But they do seem, frozen in time, and I don't think any of us have a good estimation of how long they've been like that. But, we were saying earlier that, humans change based on pressures of their environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's mother necessity is oftentimes how we invent things or why we change. It's pressure. And one thing the Amazon is, once you, figure out how not to die in it, it's a paradise of food. Food's fallen from the sky all the time there. And if once you learn to adapt to that environment, you've got very little need. There's no pressure to make anything else. Things are working.
So for the modern humans that come across these uncontacted tribes, one of the things they document and notice is the propensity of these tribes for violence. So they get very aggressive in attacking whoever they come across.
And not just foreigners, they attack each other. The Yanomamo are famous for just having never-ending feuds with each other.
What do you think is the philosophy behind that?
I don't, I'm a relatively peaceful person, but I've got the monster in me like everybody does. And I think that these, it's cultural norms that become institutionalized. For the Yanomamo, they really, part of the rite of passage to be a man is to go kill or maim somebody from an outer village.
Mm-hmm.
And they go in there, they oftentimes, the way they don't let inbreeding set in and ruin everybody, not that they think of it scientifically, but they typically go and steal women from far off communities.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts a big fight. Another thing that starts fights that when nobody even fought is illness. Illness in the Amazon and all of the ancient Americas wasn't seen as a biological thing. It was a spiritual thing. So if somebody in your village gets sick, the question is asked, well, what spirit is menacing him and who called it out on him? And then the rumor starts. Right. Well, I bet you it was Joe over there in that other community. He's still pissed off for that time when we stole his daughter.
Yeah.
And we ought to go over there and kill Joe.
Yeah.
And then he'll get better. And so this round of never-ending violence, like Hatfields and McCoys had that thing. And the people of New Guinea also do that. So it's not, there are certain areas, mostly wooded areas, now that I think about it, where people just hide out and they attack each other as a cultural institution.
It's such a tricky thing to do, to study an uncontacted tribe without obviously contacting them, to figure out their language, their philosophy of mind, how they communicate, the hierarchy they operate under.
And yeah, there was a fascinating story in Peru. I guess it was probably like 8 years ago or something, but there was a ranger from one of the biology stations who, just in the by and by of protecting his area, met one of these uncontacted tribes and befriended someone, not the whole tribe, but he made some friends who would meet him in the woods, not in their community. And he started to learn their language over a couple years. And so he was this kind of important guy who actually could be the first translator to talk to these people.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, a couple of them just came out of the woods and just plugged him with arrows and just killed him. And then they went back in the woods. Like, that's the one guy who understands what we're saying. We should kill him and move our village.
So those folks really lean into the, as you said, the monster versus the puppy.
Everybody's got it, I think. I think we need to listen to our better angels, because if we don't, we as a human species can easily devolve into just using violence and against others to get what we want. It's a daily choice we make not to be savages.
Which is a fascinating thing to remember. We kind of think in civilized society we've moved past all that, but it can be summoned, like in 1984, the 2 Minutes of Hate. With the right words, that primal thing can be summoned and directed, and lead to a lot of destruction.
And our sports are really based on taking those kinds of urges and channeling them positive, where somebody's not dead at the end of it.
Yep.